He was the chaos behind the charm. The boy with hollow eyes, chipped nails, and jokes that cut deeper than most people's truths, like a stand-up set that leaves you laughing and checking your emotional baggage. But one relationship, one very public romance, ripped open every quiet fracture he'd been hiding. Because when he stepped into a war he didn't start, dating a woman with a billion-dollar name and a bitter ex who probably still checks her Instagram, everything shifted. Not just in his career. Not just in the headlines. In him. And when it all fell apart, Pete Davidson wasn't laughing anymore, though he probably had a quip about it ready to go. Pete never chased the Hollywood spotlight. It came to him. Saturday Night Live gave him a stage, but trauma gave him the voice. Grief was his brand. Pain was his punchline. And the audience? They clung to every messy, unfiltered word like it was a group therapy session with better snacks. He wasn't polished. He wasn't pretty. He didn't belong to the clean-cut comedy elite. He was raw, real and scarred, like someone who shows up to a red carpet in Vans and forgets it's a black tie event, then shrugs when they hand him the wrong name tag. But love, especially public love, doesn't care how broken you are. It also doesn't care if your therapist is on speed dial. And for Pete Davidson, every woman he touched left behind a bruise. Some healed. Some scarred. Some never faded. And some probably still flinch when they hear a Staten Island accent on their voicemail. Ariana Grande was the spark that turned him into wildfire. It was fast. Too fast. Engagement after a few weeks. Twos, appearances, jokes, and then Mac Miller died. The internet turned. Fans demanded space for Ariana's grief. Pete didn't speak. He posted, deleted, and disappeared faster than a bad tweet at 2 a.m. It was like watching someone throw glitter in a fan, messy, shiny, and everywhere at once. When the breakup came, it wasn't just a tabloid split. It was an emotional landslide. One minute he was the luckiest guy in the world, the next he was the villain in someone else's love story, complete with angry fan edits on YouTube. Then came Kaia Gerber, model, Hollywood legacy, barely 18. A different kind of relationship, quieter but darker behind the scenes. Pete entered rehab during their time together. In a later interview, he admitted, "She should have just enjoyed her youth instead of being saddled with my problems." That's a line that sounds like it belongs in a sad indie film, except this was real life, no Oscar for Best Breakdown. He didn't fight the breakup. He blamed himself. But blame doesn't erase damage. And Kaia never spoke publicly again. Possibly because her PR team locked her phone in a vault and threw it in the ocean, or at least changed her Wi-Fi password. Then, Phoebe Dynevor. Fresh off Bridgerton's global explosion. The perfect, polished counterpart to Pete's chaos. For once, it looked gentle and sweet. They walked through London, hand in hand. Smiling. It felt like the opening credits of a romantic comedy, minus the quirky best friend with a coffee addiction. But behind that smile, the old pattern repeated. Pete fell hard. She pulled back. Work pulled them apart. Fans blamed distance. Insiders blamed intensity. Honestly, it could have just been the time zone difference, or trying to explain his tattoos over Zoom. And then came the one he should have never touched. The one whose name came with more baggage than even Pete could carry. Kim Kardashian. It started as a joke. A Saturday Night Live sketch. A kiss on stage that felt scripted. But off stage, something real started building. Dates. Public hand-holding. Then the Met Gala. And suddenly, Pete was no longer just the comic. He was in the Kardashian machine, like signing up for a reality show without reading the fine print. And standing across from him? Kanye West. Rapper, ex-husband, and online arsonist with a Twitter account and a grudge. What followed was an all-out digital war. Kanye called him Skeet. Threatened him in lyrics. Posted private messages. Uploaded edited death scenes starring Pete. It was like watching a soap opera written by someone on energy drinks and unlimited data. Pete stayed silent. Kim tried to laugh it off. But inside the war zone, something cracked. Rumors surfaced that Pete had started trauma therapy just to deal with the harassment, like signing up for a masterclass in dodging internet bullets. He was thrust into a co-parenting dynamic he didn't sign up for. North West made TikToks. Kanye made threats. Kim tried to stay above it. Pete was just trying to figure out what room he was allowed to sit in without starting a Reddit thread. And when the breakup came, it wasn't unexpected. It was inevitable. Like forgetting your password and being locked out of your own email. Except your email is your mental health and the password is a 280-character rant. But that war left a mark. Not just emotionally, professionally. In 2022, Pete quietly dropped out of the horror film The Home, mid-production. Officially, it was scheduling. Unofficially, sources said he wasn't mentally fit to finish. Translation: I need a nap, not a night shoot, unless the script calls for existential dread. He also left Saturday Night Live. No grand farewell. No big monologue. Just gone, like a guest who leaves the party early but forgets to say goodbye. But Pete wasn't done. He shifted, strategized, created Bupkis, a fictionalized show about his own life, starring himself. It was unhinged, bizarre, and deeply personal. Like therapy, but with a budget and better lighting. This time, he controlled the chaos. He wasn't the punchline. He was the writer. Meanwhile, his dating life continued. Emily Ratajkowski came and went. Then Chase Sway Wonders, his Bodies co-star, quieter and more balanced. Until it wasn't. They split in 2023 with no noise. No Instagram statements. No memes. Just silence. Which in Hollywood, is basically the equivalent of disappearing into a cornfield with a bad cell signal. By 2024, Pete Davidson had stopped chasing love. Or maybe, love had stopped chasing him. He kept working, indie films, voice roles, live stand-up, but the mania around his dating life had dimmed. He had no kids. No co-parenting arrangement. But the fallout from the Kardashian saga had changed him. He'd seen what it meant to be devoured by fame, not his own, but someone else's, like borrowing a spotlight that burns a little too hot. Ariana left with grief. Kaya left with silence. Phoebe left with distance. What about Kim? She left behind a battlefield. And Pete? He's still standing in the rubble. Possibly holding a vape and a half-eaten bagel, wondering if therapy takes Venmo. So what now? Did Pete Davidson finally outgrow the chaos? Or just get better at hiding it? Because for all his openness, there's one thing he's never made public. What it cost to be loved by him. And that invoice? Still unpaid. He kissed Ariana and triggered a cultural storm. He kissed Kim and stepped into a war. And in between? He lost roles, lost love and lost pieces of himself. But the one thing Pete Davidson never lost was attention. So was it all just bad luck? Mental health? Or did he invite the fire just to feel something real? Maybe it doesn't matter. Because whether they loved him for how broken he was, or hated him for who he hurt, they never looked away. And that's the real addiction. And hey, if nothing else, at least he's got enough breakup material to tour forever, or at least until he runs out of tattoo space. To enjoy such lovely stories, comment, like, and subscribe to our channel that picks pieces of stories and combines them into one alluring story that keeps you entertained and informed.